So turn off, and then right, I'm gonna go. So I'll admit all these in now.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's 4 or 5. Yeah, see you in a bit.
Cool. Oh God, what have I done? Hello, everyone. Can everyone see and hear me okay? Okay, perfect. So I'm going to crack on. So my name is Katrina Mupuri, and I am the Senior Social Features Editor at the London Standard, which is a newspaper, a website, and a 360 digital product. And today I'm going to be kind of just giving you all of my tips and tricks on how to land an entry-level social media job at a newspaper or magazine, and tell you everything I did to do that as well. So a bit about me: I graduated from LCC and I did journalism. I'm currently the Senior Social Features Editor at the Standard, formerly the Evening Standard, and I'm also a freelance journalist who writes, a presenter, a food judge, and a social media consultant. My current role is leading the whole Standard social strategy, which means pitching original social ideas for the paper online, responding to things happening in the news, so breaking news, deaths, trends, and working with the editorial team to create relevant and social-friendly content. I also cover key events like the BAFTAs, the Brits, Fashion Week, and whatever else might be going on in London. And I also work with the commercial team. Just a quick note to say, if you have any questions throughout this presentation, please write them down, bank them, because I'll be answering questions at the end. But the whole point of this is for me to be really transparent about how to get your jobs in the industry. And I'd also love to know at the end, like, who does have a job already, and if anyone is in the industry, so I can give you tailored advice. So let's just talk you through my journey. It's been an interesting one. So when I was super young, from the age of 13 actually, I started writing for small music blogs. I knew that I had a passion for music. I wasn't good enough to be in the band, so the next best thing was to write about the band. I started attending festivals and writing for small blogs, and that led me to get my work experience at the BBC, which was a small section of the BBC called BBC Blast for under 18s, and they had a selection of radio workshops, and I just went up to the most important looking person I saw at one of the workshops and said, "Can I help you do something? I want to get into media." And he said yes. So for that week I helped run the workshops myself. Not running them, sorry. I helped facilitate the workshop, so giving people lanyards and whatever. It was very admin heavy, but I had that BBC title very early on my CV, which really helped. And then I did work experience at Uncut magazine, which is a music magazine, and then work experience at Glass magazine, and that's when I started helping with their social uploads. So I would write news stories for them as an unpaid intern, and I would say, hey, let me put that on Instagram stories for you, or Facebook, or whatever, to help amplify that. That's when I became more of a fixed writer at Glass magazine. I'd been interning with them for 3 months during university, and made myself a valuable person to them. And that kind of spun my journalism career. So I started writing at other magazines, and then became an established freelance writer, moved into a hybrid content role at ITP Media, then became a social editor at Stylist, a social editor at Suitcase, a social editor at Cosmopolitan, and here we are now. So something that's important for me to tell you is I have always been a freelance writer alongside working in socials, and that gave me the creativity to work in journalism and understand which fields I found most interesting. And there are various things I did along the way to make sure that I was hireable as a social editor for magazines and newspapers, and that's what I'm here to tell you about and explain. So let's start with why social media matters in journalism. Well, it's the fastest way to spread news. When someone dies, you might get a BBC notification, but the likelihood is you might see it on Instagram first, or Twitter, or WhatsApp. So it makes the news really easy to digest and spread, and it's also a platform with limitless creativity, the ability to add text onto things and just share imagery and music, and almost, there's just so many variations of ways that you can get news across and tell stories on social media, as you all know. Everyone is literally on it. Social media also matters, but in journalism, because it amplifies traffic to the journalism. So in my job, one of the key points that we're always looking for is to make sure that the articles that the journalists are writing are seen and get clicks. And social media is perfect for that, because it's about knowing what platform you're posting on, and you're targeting communities with that. It also gives topics longevity. So for example, if somebody wrote an article about the book Wuthering Heights 10 years ago, that might be worth republishing with an update and resurfacing on social media. So yeah, there's kind of like an evergreen stance to things and also a reactive stance to things. It also opens up community and discourse and conversation, and is a brilliant research tool. So if you think something's trending and the audience react to it really well, that almost reinforces your thought that it was trending. So it really matters in journalism, and something I really want to stress is working in journalism doesn't mean being a traditional writer anymore. Being a social media journalist is still being a journalist. So how do you land your first job? Well, this is, obviously everyone has their own journey, but this is the way I would approach it if I was to go back. And it's kind of the way I did approach it, but this is the advice I give to everyone. First things first, use your own social media as your CV and portfolio. If your social media pages look crap, and you can't prove to someone that you know how to run a social media page, it's really not a great look if you're looking to get hired in that field. In the same way that if you want to be a nail artist and your nails look terrible, you're not presenting yourself very well to potential employers. Follow relevant social editors at publications you like. I can't stress how important this is. The amount of jobs that get posted on Instagram stories, LinkedIn pages, Twitter, even if you're not looking for job postings, following editors is so important, because if you know everyone, if you follow everyone at your dream publication, you're going to see what they're sharing, what they're interacting with, and you're going to get a really firm grasp on what they're looking for, which means you'll know what to pitch. Moving on, I would say you need to start creating content that catches attention. If you're just making boring infographics, that might work, but if you're creating standout content that is really unique, if someone sees that, they're going to go, wow, I want something like that. It's almost like they're looking at that style and they can tell that you have a style that matches something that they might want. That's a great time to showcase that as well if you are reporting on events. So if you see, I don't know, a man climbing Big Ben, that is a brilliant opportunity to video that or even report on that by taking a picture. And you can use that content that you've just captured on your iPhone or whatever it may be to then pitch to editors. So something I used to do when I was younger is pitch to local newspapers. There was a mini roundabout that sunk near my house once, and I took a picture and I emailed the local newspaper and said, would you like this picture? They said, yes, please. I said, can you pay me for it? They said no, but I still gave it to them, and I had my first byline in a newspaper that way. So if you capture content or report on content that other papers or people aren't reporting on, and you have that, that's golden. You almost have that thing that they want. So that is a brilliant way to be on the ball in terms of having content that editors want, and you can absolutely pitch that to them. And I can guarantee a pretty high success rate with that. Reach out to titles and ask if they need freelancers. I think there's so much to be said in the world of cold pitching. There's literally no harm in reaching out to people with a short bio of yourself or a punchy idea and just saying, hey, would you like this? Or even if you don't have an idea, just going, hey, this is who I am. This is what I've done. I think you might like this video. By the way, do you need any freelancers or do you have any shifts available? the worst that can happen is they ghost you or they say no. But in my mind, I always say if you send 100 emails and you get 5 responses, that's still a huge success. So definitely reach out to people and cold pitch. And keep an eye on jobs boards. Sam Social Media Club, LinkedIn, Arts Jobs, places like that. You know, they're always posting opportunities, especially entry-level ones. So just make sure you get in there early and make sure you've done your research. If you see your dream title there, or even one that you love and appreciate, you know, get your foot in the door and do that, and never give up, of course. So why should you have a good social media presence? We've kind of gone over this already, but it shows you're in tune with what's going on around you. It also works as a virtual CV or business card. As you know, when you're out and about, a lot of people say, what's your Instagram or what's your LinkedIn? And that's almost an instant exchange, and it's almost your first impression of someone after you meet them is their social media. It's a chance for you to showcase and brag about what you've been working on and showcase your talent. It's also a place where you can publish ideas if you don't get commissions. So if you have a brilliant idea and you've pitched it to editors, or you just don't know what to do with it, make it into a brilliant social media post on TikTok, or talk about it, or whatever it may be in your style. And this can be something, if it catches the eye of someone, can lead to a commission and a job. It also shows credibility. The fact that you have a good social media presence makes people trust you. You know, sometimes I go on people's social media pages and they have a weird username, they have no profile picture, they have like one post, normally Gen Z, it has to be said. And I'm like, I don't know if this is a bot or a real person. So you need to have a good social media presence. And lastly, it's a really good opportunity for you to carve out your niche. If your social media is displayed in a really punchy way, or a newsreader way, or a really creative way, it's a place for you to be really creative and carve out your niche, which is a lovely way to present your work to someone. General tips for social media is try your best to grow on socials, because it's a good look. Remember that your social media will be viewed by employers, and people do check it out and they do scroll to the bottom sometimes. Keep your private life private. If you want to post about private things, have a burner account. I'd say the only exception to this is if you do really see yourself looking to work in first person or comment, or that style of journalism where you have a very strong story to tell. For example, if you were struggling with hair loss or something, and if you were documenting your hair loss journey, that would be totally fine to do. But if it's something that you don't see yourself relating back to work, then don't bother. Follow the right people. I've been through that as well. I found my current job through social media. Having editors follow you back, or even just knowing what they're up to, gives you such a great insight into what they're looking for. And they're the ones with the budgets, and they're the ones that have the money. And as soon as you get that first freelance gig, you've got your foot in the door. And yeah, stay consistent, keep posting. So let's look at my social media, and I'm going to tell you why I think I have a pretty good social media presence. So I've kind of listed where I work. I've got my email address there, and I've got links. I've got links to my work. So the worst thing is when someone wants to work with you and they can't find examples of your work, and they have to dig too much. You know, you're not making it easy for them. These are busy people who don't have much time to look and chase. So you should really make it as easy as possible, especially in a social media job. Over here, I kind of post about events I'm attending, work, articles I've written, and then I also use the highlights here just to, let people know what I do. So red carpet stuff, celebrity interview, and then also pins over here. So I've pinned an article I wrote for British Vogue, and you might want to do the same. Obviously, Instagram is the example I've used here, but the same applies for TikTok, Twitter. Use your pins, use your biographies to show off what your niches are and what you're interested in, and make it really easy for people to understand who you are in 30 seconds. I'm going to move on to a case study now, because I keep saying that social media can land you a commission. So I'm going to show you exactly how a thing I worked on completely spiraled and turned it into a big commission for me. So if you have your phones in your hand, feel free to scan the QR code there. So in 2021, during lockdown, I was, sitting at home, freelancing, not really enjoying my work that much. And this was after the terrible news of Sarah Everard was trending in the news, Sarah Everard being the woman that was murdered by a Met police officer. Now, soon after, a woman called Sabina Nessa went missing in broad daylight, and there was a plea from the police to help find her. She was a missing woman. It was a very similar, familiar feeling to what had happened to Sarah Everard. And I remembered the coverage of Sarah Everard being nationwide, global, people sharing her posters. And I thought to myself, why is this Sabina girl not getting the same? And I realised she was a woman of colour, and I kind of joined the dots. And before kind of joining the dots and speaking about that, I was like, I need to take matters into my own hand. So I'm going to pitch some editors and say, where is the same anger and care for this woman? Editors didn't pick it up. And I was really upset because I thought this is a great story and people need to know about this. This is a huge injustice. So what I did was I stepped onto Instagram. I created a simple 6 or 7 slides. The first slide being the picture of the girl, and it just said, read me. And it went on to give the public all the information they needed, from what the police have said, and the police saying, please help us find this person. And it ended up going viral. It reached 3.5 million people. I had celebrities sharing it, editors sharing it, every single person on my timeline was sharing it. And I believe this is because it was something people weren't aware about, and when they were aware about it, they realised the importance of it. So I used my social media to spread this message with, researched information. And that spiraled into opportunities to speak on the radio about it, to write about it, and also to be an authority on the subject. Now, what this did was it put my name into the limelight related to this topic based on the fact that I blew the story up. So, every single outlet was writing about it. I wrote this story for Equate magazine. I also wrote a story for ES magazine as well in print, and that was all off the basis of me having this post. Now, even if it didn't go viral and it just did well, if it caught the attention of the right person, the right editor, I still believe I would get commissions off the back of it, because it was a very vital story that had a strong sense of justice attached to it, and also it's just something that the major outlets weren't covering. So I saw a gap. Going through the insights, again, it reached a lot of people, it offered information to people, showed my journalistic skills, and this is the most important thing, got me hired, it got me a commission. And off the back of that, I got a social editor job at Cosmopolitan. The head of social there saw my post. I saw she was hiring. I used this post as an example, and she says, oh, I know you. You're the girl that did the Sabina Nessa story. And she hired me off the back of that. So if I was to rewind way back to, 12 years to the start of my career, 12 years ago, social media was still starting up as a thing. But things I wish I knew earlier was, you don't have to go to university to be a journalist. There's no one way to be a journalist. You are a journalist as soon as you start reporting on stories, and that's really as simple as it is. Rejection is completely normal, and something I need to be completely transparent about, and a message I really want to portray to you guys is that if you are the type of person that really can't handle rejection, this career is not for you. Rejection is such a huge part of pitching ideas, being a creative, and working in journalism. And it's just one of those things that you have to have a real hard hustle for. And I say this to everyone that I mentor or anyone that asks me about this, people starting out with pitches, and that is, if you give up really easily and you're not desperate, if your number one dream isn't to be a journalist, I would say give up now. It's one of the most competitive jobs in the world because it's fun. It gives you access to brilliant things. It's glamorous to an extent, depending on what you cover, but there are 200 other people who are dying to get their foot in the door as well. So if you aren't ready to hustle and keep pitching and really, really create something special and do your research and put yourself out there, then I would say there are plenty of other writing jobs or social media jobs for brands or copywriting, whatever, that pay a lot more and are a lot more rewarding. However, you need to have that strong journalistic strength and kind of fire inside of you. And that is something that I really, really think people should know. Out of all of my course at university, I'm the only, I think it's me, and I think there was one other journalist, but I'm the only journalist left, basically. A few people got their foot in the door, and then it was, for various reasons very hard, but I've known I wanted to do this since a very young age, which is, lucky. But even if I started when I was older, the main thing is you need to know is you really have to want to do it, and there can be no plan B, really. And if you have that mindset, you will get in, because that is the kind of thing that editors and people that are hiring are looking for. We're looking for people that are dying to tell stories, always have the inside scoop, always have an interesting take or angle, brimming with ideas, and are ready to help. So that is something I wish I knew earlier. Keep pitching. I used to pitch, and then I would drown my sorrows thinking, that was like my best idea. And then I just thought to myself, I've pitched it to one person and they haven't replied. Have I followed up? Have I done the checklist? Which is my pitch correct? Am I the right person to pitch it? Why me? Why now? And why is it right for that publication? And as soon as I started thinking a bit more like an editor, I started seeing a bit more success. So you really have to ask yourself, why are you the right person to be hired for this, and why are you the right person to tell these stories? Self-publishing is also the gateway to getting people's attentions. The Sabina Nessa thing did really well. I was scared to do things like that before because I was paranoid or self-conscious about posting things on social media because I'd never done things like that before, and I'm so glad I did that because it opened the doors for me. So self-publish, guys. Use the platform you have. It's a brilliant platform. It's free. And you'll be surprised how many people see your content once you start, doing journalism on social media. Be more shameless is something I've written down here. Slide into DMs, only if their emails aren't readily available. But, don't ask people for opportunities in DMs. Ask for their emails if you can't find them. Another thing I wish I knew earlier is work out people's emails. Some editors don't have their emails readily available, but if you know someone else that works in the company, or you check their Twitter bio, you can tell what the end of the email is. So mine is firstname.lastname@standard.co.uk. If you have that last bit, you can work out someone else's email just from, putting two and two together. So put yourself out there, email people, and also study people's careers. I used to stalk people on LinkedIn and see what their journeys were. And if you like what they're doing, take inspiration from what they've done. So that is the end of my workshop. I've left quite a lot of time for Q&A, so I just want to open it up and let everyone kind of ask what they want to ask.